Welcome to today's episode. We're taking you on a journey through a typical neighborhood grocery store. Our goal is to help beginner English learners shop confidently by understanding key phrases and vocabulary. To start, why is practicing real-world scenarios like this so important for language learners?
Great question. When learners practice in realistic settings, they remember vocabulary better and feel less anxious. Grocery shopping is a daily task, so mastering this conversation builds practical skills. Plus, repeated exposure to phrases like, "Where can I find?" makes them second nature.
Absolutely. And by walking through this scenario, listeners can also pick up cultural tips about politeness and store etiquette in English-speaking countries. Let's dive into the first step of our shopping trip, entering the store and greeting staff.
Yes, greetings set the tone. Even a simple hello or good morning shows friendliness and opens the door for helpful communication. We'll use these elements throughout our dialogue to model natural interactions.
Now, imagine you've just entered the store. One of the first interactions you might have is with a store assistant. How can beginners politely get someone's attention to ask for help?
A polite approach is to start with, "Excuse me," or "Hi, can you help me?" These phrases are universal and signal respect. For example, saying, "Excuse me, where can I find the milk?" is both clear and courteous.
That's a great point. Using excuse me not only gets attention but also softens the request. Listeners should practice this phrase with different intonations to sound friendly yet confident.
Exactly. Tone matersa, rising intonation at the end of the question shows you're asking, not demanding. Practicing in front of a mirror or with a friend can really help learners internalize this.
Moving on, let's cover some must-know vocabulary for grocery shopping. What are the most common food and household items learners will encounter in a store?
The basics include items like apples, bread, rice, milk, and eggs. For household goods, think paper towels, soap, or cleaning supplies. Learning these words helps you navigate signs and ask for help.
It's helpful to group words by category: fruits, dairy, grains, and so on. For instance, apples and oranges are fruits, while milk and cheese are dairy. This makes memorization easier.
Absolutely. And using flashcards or labeling items at home are great ways to reinforce this vocabulary. Don't forget to practice their pronunciation, especially words like bread and rice, which can sound similar to new learners.
Once you know the vocabulary, finding items is the next step. Which expressions can help learners ask about locations within the store?
Common questions include, "Where is the milk?" or "Where can I find the eggs?" Using "there is" or "there are" also helps, like, "Is there any rice?" or "Are there apples today?"
That's useful. Store assistants usually reply with directions, such as "It's in aisle 3" or "Over by the dairy section." Practicing these exchanges helps learners follow instructions easily.
Exactly. To make it more vivid, imagine a map in your mind as you listen. Picturing the store layout while hearing these phrases can make them more memorable.
Now, let's discuss asking for amounts. In grocery stores, people often use units like kilo, dozen, pack, or bottle. How can learners use these terms effectively?
It's important to match the right unit to the item. For example, a kilo of apples, a dozen eggs, a pack of rice, or a bottle of milk. Units help staff understand exactly how much you want.
Good advice. This also ties into understanding countable versus uncountable nouns. Apples are countable, but rice is uncountable, so we say some rice instead of a rice.
Correct. If you're unsure, listen for how native speakers ask or check product labels. Practicing these phrases out loud builds confidence for real-life shopping.
Let's shift to talking about money. What's the best way for learners to ask about prices and understand responses at the checkout?
The phrase, "How much does this cost?" is key. You might hear, "It's 2.5" or "That'll be $5." Paying attention to numbers and currency terms helps avoid confusion.
Sometimes, prices can be tricky if you're not used to the local currency or way of saying numbers. Practicing saying prices aloud, like $5.75, boosts clarity.
Definitely. Also, listening for stress on the main number like $10 can help you catch the amount quickly, especially in a busy store.
Now, suppose you want a specific product or amount. What's a polite way to make requests in English?
Using "I'd like" or "Can I get" is both friendly and clear. For instance, I'd like a loaf of bread, or can I get 2 bottles of milk? These forms show respect and make your request easy to understand.
It's helpful to remember that adding please at the end, can I get a pack of rice, please, makes the interaction even more polite.
Exactly. In English-speaking cultures, politeness is valued. Practicing these expressions helps learners build positive relationships with store staff.
Let's focus on grammar. Many learners struggle with articles and present simple tense when shopping. How can they practice these structures correctly?
Articles like a, an, and some depend on the noun. Say, a bottle of water for one, or some rice for an uncountable item. The present simple tense works for prices. It costs $3.
That's a clear explanation. Repeating these patterns: there is a sale today, there are fresh apples, builds fluency for real conversations.
Exactly. Shadowing native speakers or reading dialogues aloud helps internalize grammar without overthinking the rules.
Another challenge is clear pronunciation, especially for numbers and polite questions. What tips can you share for sounding more natural?
Practice stressing keywords like, how much is this? And pausing between phrases. For numbers, exaggerate the sounds at first, 14 versus 40. This builds muscle memory.
Great tip. Also, keeping a slow pace and using rising intonation at the end of questions helps listeners understand you're asking, not stating.
Absolutely. Try recording yourself and comparing to native speakers. Over time, your pronunciation and confidence will improve.
Let's walk through a realistic dialogue step by step. I'll play the customer and you'll be the store assistant. Ready?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Excuse me, where can I find the milk?
It's in aisle 2 next to the bread.
Thank you. How much is the bread?
It's $2 a loaf.
Breaking down this exchange, listeners can notice how each phrase builds on the last, using key expressions and vocabulary we've discussed.
Exactly. Practicing these short conversations with a partner or even alone helps solidify both language and confidence for real shopping trips.
Before we wrap up, let's invite listeners to join our interactive speaking challenge. Imagine you're at the store, practice saying, "Excuse me, where is the rice?" And, "Can I get a kilo of apples, please?" out loud.
Great idea. Try changing the items and quantities. Where are the eggs? Or, I'd like 2 bottles of water. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel.
Don't worry about making mistakes. Each attempt builds fluency and confidence. Listen to this episode again, pause, and repeat the phrases as many times as you need.
Exactly. With regular practice, you'll soon find grocery shopping in English much easier and even enjoyable. Thanks for shopping with us in English today.